Share program. Warm greetings and good afternoon on this wet Lagos evening. I hope it's raining in California, in Maryland, in New York, in Charlotte, in Japan, and in South Africa. We must receive the benefits of this rain, I insist. But we thank God for everything. We thank God for everything. This democracy season, we're doing a season of open mics, a season of conversations and discussions, a season of evaluation and seeing exactly where Nigeria is, where we're going, what we're going to do, and how we're going to make Nigeria happen for all of us. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. And it's a day where we want everybody to speak, to converse, to speak up, so that we can get everybody's view and opinion on our great nation and how we feel things are going in this great and wonderful nation. Thank you all for coming. We're going to go very quickly through a slide presentation, but please, everyone should be ready and should be available to really speak to the slide and to make their own comments. We really want to take everybody's opinion at this day and age and this stage of our national development to see exactly in which direction our great country, Nigeria, is going. All right, so it's an open mic town hall meeting on the state of the nation. Open mic town hall meeting following that which we did last week. We've done a review of the newspapers. And the hot items on the news over the last few weeks, over the last few days, as a matter of fact. Punch tells us that 30 governors spent 968.6 billion on refreshments and other items in 3 months. 968.64 billion on refreshments, almost 1 trillion naira just on victuals, soft drinks, biscuits, entertainment, and maybe lunch and things like that. That's a lot, okay, in the last 3 months. Then Vanguard is telling us that malnutrition cases are surging. 100% in Nigeria, children are dying, and it's becoming alarming. It's becoming really alarming. Labor, minimum wage talks. Labor is considering 100,000 as Tinubu issues ultimatum. This is the discussions, ongoing discussions between the Labor and the federal government of Nigeria, even at this time. Then we're looking at the Daily Post. 7 policemen, 4 others killed as bandits unleash terror attack in Zamfara community. People killed, bandits. We're still having banditry attacks and things like that. Then our minister, Mr. Wale Edun, has submitted the implications of the minimum wage cost to our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He did this along with the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Atiku Bagudu. Then they are telling us what the cost implications of the new minimum wage will be. Okay, so we're going to be looking at that. Then we want to go very quickly at a video newsreel on the state of the nation, and we'll be hearing from our news studios right now. Right. I think you went through that news very quickly. The federal government, I'm told, is suing the states, asking for direct autonomy for the local governments. I think probably there should be a smarter way of doing this, and I'm sure it's not. I don't think we need to go to court. I think the constitution is clear. And I think that the local governments probably need to have their elections conducted by INEC. If we need to change the law, to ensure that it is INEC that conducts all the elections, we just have to have the appropriate timetable to ensure that that is done. And that also will go in sequence, like the governorship elections go. And each local government person will compete for his own position. As he's able, and there's a direct election by INEC, and of course, like they suggested, the allocations go direct to the local government chairman, and he is to account for it and is to disburse it as he wishes. Otherwise, then legally hand over the local government to the state and let them handle their local governments any way they wish, and so on and so forth. This is what we're thinking. So we need to take a decision at this point in time, so that we know exactly where we're going. Right. We are going to be doing a Vox Pop also. We want to rate some of our ministers, okay, or all of them over the past 1 year. What do we think and how have they performed? I'm sure that some of us might not even know your minister for this or that is, because a few of them have been very quiet, or maybe their office does not necessitate them getting in touch with the public as such. Others may know, others may not know. But it's important to rate them to see how they have performed. And I'm sure that in Aso Rock or in one of the presidential councils, there will also be a rating of the various ministers. There are 45 of them. ranging from communication, environment, finance, marine, powers, health, tourism, transportation, industry and trade, innovation, labor and employment, women affairs, works, aviation, youth, humanitarian affairs, law and suspension, gas, petroleum, sports development, capital territory, arts and culture, and the creative economy, defense, education, housing and urban development, budgets, of course, water resources, agriculture, education, interior, foreign affairs, Minister of Health, police affairs, steel development, information and national orientation, Attorney General of the Federation, labor and employment, special duties and intergovernment affairs, and so on and so forth, water resources and sanitation. Amen. Those are largely ministers. So what is your take? How are you going to evaluate them, and what have they, and how have they performed? So we know we have spoken about Nigeria. We know that we have prayed for Nigeria. We know that we are all anxious about Nigeria. But today we want suggestions. We want suggestions. A lot of us know what the problem is. Okay, we know what the problem is, what the state of the nation is. But we want concrete suggestions that we can pass over to the captain of the ship, the commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and our president, executive president, so that we can say we have made a contribution to national development. So what we want are suggestions, not just people coming to say, this is the problem, this is the problem. We know the problems. We can see the problems. We understand the problems. We can feel the problems, but we want solutions, suggestions, solutions, suggestions, solutions, suggestions. So if anybody is ready to bear the cards and take on what we want, suggestions. So if you say, okay, this is what you think the problem is, this is what I think the solution should be, and so on and so forth, then we can take it from there. It's always nice and fresh to hear Pastor Sonny's opinion and his thoughts, and then I know that Jumoke at the back end always has something or the other. But so maybe I'll tell Sonny to build the cat, and then I will see who else is raising up their hands to give us solutions. You can tell us, maybe we'll take this format, your name, what you do, and then this is the area that you're speaking to. These are the challenges that they're there, and then this is your suggested solution and method of implementation. I'm sure all this can be done in all of 2 minutes so that we can take as many people as possible. Your name and what you do, what you think the issues are in this particular area, what you think should be done, and so on and so forth, what methodology should be applied, and so on and so forth. And then if anybody has anything to add to it, they can. Otherwise, we can then note that and then take it on from there. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Sonny, I want you to build the cat.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. So my name is Sonny Enebi. I'm Vice President, African Leadership Group. I think Jumoke had said that I think Kunle Lawal is on the platform, and Oluyinka, they have some views, some thoughts that she may want them to share first. But so I would still speak, but I think I will reserve my own comment till after Jumoke gets Kunle Lawal and Oluyinka to say what they want to say.
Good evening, everyone. Jumoke Akintaylor, Second Vice President for Africa Leadership Group, Tri-Africa Empowerment Foundation. So I thank you for being here. I wanted to ask Kunle and Oluyinka to speak a bit about some of the analysis. They've done quite a few analysis on the performance of the ministers, the different sectors. And I know Kunle Lawal also is very passionate about the local government autonomy, so he could speak on that as well. So who wants to go first? Oluyinka, do you want to go first on the analysis you've done? I believe it was on Channels and on Arise TV or Silverbird on the performance of the different sectors. Sorry for putting you on the spot. I know you do this in your sleep, so that's why I called you. No advance notice. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Sorry, let me get that. You can unmute now.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us here. I say congratulations that we are here 1 year after. Let's try to make this a discourse and everybody just making contributions. And I will start by trying to set the stage. Then I and my good friend and brother keep going at it, posing different number one, so it's 1 year in office for the president, and if you governors who it's their first time in office, how do we start to rate them? And I will just try to set the stage building from the last elections, and then I'll pass it on to Kunle. So first is it was an election, a general election, presidential election fraught with conflict. And I think that till today that we have still not healed of how the elections went, how the election petitioners and the judiciary, the role the judiciary played. I don't think that we can truly say we've moved on from the elections. And what has made it worse is no sooner had the president been sworn in than Nigerians started to feel the impact of the harsh economic policies. So no sooner had the president been sworn in than Nigerians started to feel the harsh impact of economic policies, especially he said he was going to remove subsidy. He said it during his first address. And then it's been a roller coaster downhill since then. So I would rather say that Nigerians came with the expectations, at least for the new government to stabilize the economy, or a revamp. I won't even say stabilize, a revamp of the economy. So let's start the discussions from the economic angle. Since that time, Naira has been devalued severally. We've tried to clear backlogs of our foreign exchange commitments, but to date, it looks like the short-term fixes are not working. So I think we should start from there before moving to another sector. Kunle, what do you think? Could we have done the economy differently? Could we have made decisions differently? Could we have escaped the harsh economic conditions that we found ourselves in? I think we can start the discussions on that basis before moving to another sector.
And I think you can also include recommendations. What could we have done differently, yes, and to kind of not get us into where we are right now?
Yes, ma'am. So, Kunle, what are your thoughts regarding the economy? Could we have done this differently? Or our president is bold with the decisions he's made, and we should just allow him do what others have not had the confidence to do? What are your thoughts? Is Kunle here? I'm looking for him. I can't find him.
I don't see him. So yeah, it was in the room.
Why don't you give your own opinion?
Yeah,
and when
okay.
Kunle comes, he should give his own opinion. I think you should just talk to the issues.
All right. So regarding the economy, I think that the president has done what everybody was here to do. My only problem is that he did it in a manner that is not befitting of Nigerians who've been suffering. I've said this everywhere before, and I'm saying it again. The president is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, regardless of how he came in. the courts have affirmed that he is president. However, I would have loved to see a long-term plan and a short-term plan. It looks as though the president took the long-term plan immediately by implementing this removal of subsidy that we are told today, as of today, I'm still reading somewhere, that we spent over 5 billion, budgeted on fuel subsidy, and that means that the removal has not been done. Now, another curious issue is the Dangote refinery. The idea was that with Dangote refinery, we'll stop importing petroleum products, which will increase the value of the Naira, and then we won't have to change Naira to Forex to be able to import petroleum products. In fact, I saw a statement today begging crude suppliers that they should supply Dangote. So I don't understand that. Dangote has enjoyed huge government support in establishing that. So why should we still be importing petroleum products? I can never understand that. So we are selling crude, whereas Dangote refinery in Lagos, Nigeria requires crude. So there's more to it that the federal government is letting on. We cannot keep importing petroleum products after so much money invested by government, by CBN, making Forex available for Dangote to set up his refinery. That's a curious case, and I think Nigerians should start to shout about that. I also read that the Kaduna or Port Harcourt refinery, that they were not designed for Nigeria's crude. And so if we are going to get those refineries operational, we will have to be importing another type of crude that is not Nigeria's crude. So effectively, those are never going to be viable again as long as we keep importing petroleum products. So I think that an issue that we need to resolve immediately is why Dangote refinery cannot be supplied crude, why we are selling instead of supplying Dangote, so that we will never have to import crude again. That is an issue that we need to resolve once and for all. Second off, and we can start to rate the ministers later, we always knew, even from Jonathan's administration, that our economy requires to be diversified. That is not new. Everybody knows that. I'm yet to see a plan by the federal government for the agricultural sector to say this is a long-term plan of diversifying our economy to tackle food shortage in Nigeria and Africa. I am yet to see the Tinubu administration saying anything about this. Meanwhile, even the Emefiele that is being prosecuted, Nigeria now has a large rice processing facility in Kebbi State that I have visited. So ordinarily, that facility is supposed to crash the price of rice. So practically speaking, we have not seen the impact of this government with respect to agriculture that can take care of food shortage, that can end Forex for us and can help us to save on imports. We won't have to import anymore if we place premium on our agricultural sector. So on that, the federal government has failed. We move on to security. It is disheartening that as of today, we cannot emphatically resolve the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, which has its hands in so many things. It is as though Nigeria is undergoing a civil war. I can tell you emphatically, the farmers cannot go to farm. In the Middle Belt, they are being disemboweled, their families shattered, traumatized because the cattle must graze. Happily yesterday or day before yesterday, the federal government through the Senate has passed a bill, I think the first or second reading on National Ranching Commission. Is there a way we can make our farms safe for the farmers to go back to farm and we can stem insecurity totally? A president that cannot secure the nation has failed in his oath, in the pledge that is constitutionally provided for. If you cannot secure your geographical territory of your country, then it's an impeachable offense. And I think that we have not made an issue out of the insecurity in Nigeria. If the president, whoever the president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces for a reason. And I think that we are chasing shadows. Any president that cannot secure the country should be impeached. It's as simple as that. We should stop playing lip service to security. If once we are able to secure our borders, then it will no longer be business as usual. But we seem to think that, oh, it is IPOB in the
But
east.
what are the recommendations?
So the
Oluyinka, I
recommendations
know that we've
this
been talking
president,
about the problems.
the recommendation on insecurity is that this president should be impeached. There's no two ways about it. If you check from then till date, maybe it will make the president wake up. We should start telling the legislative house, because we do not value lives in Nigeria. And it has ripple effects on several other things. So if the president cannot show us a roadmap to secure our nation, please impeach Mr. President already.
Okay. All right. So I know that's a very passionate plea, and it's also very important. So we have Kunle in the room now, and I want him to please speak on that, the local government autonomy, because that's one of his areas of passion, his areas of expertise as well. And he's spoken a lot about what that means for the nation. So maybe we can start to come up with recommendations on the way forward. Kunle, please go ahead and unmute yourself. And then we have a few, we'll call on
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Auntie.
We also have you on the list here to call you. So please get ready. We'll send you a text. Send you a chat.
Thank you very much, Auntie. Thank you very much, Auntie Jumoke. And telling the story of local government autonomy. Telling the story of local government autonomy is a very wide story. But I'll first start with, in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there's no place where it states that states are autonomous. So why should it state that local governments are autonomous? We'll go back to Executive Order 10 of 2020, of which President Muhammadu Buhari wanted to pay state governors, local governments directly, which was thwarted by governors when they took the presidency to court. That was an illegal move. I would like to expand what was shown on State of the Nation. There are two fronts this present government is fighting it from. The first is taking the state governors to court for interpretation, which I know will yield in the fact local governments are autonomous, because FAC allocation is guaranteed by the Constitution, which already has created that. So there's no need to question their autonomy. For me, governors have usurped power. The second front, which I was proud to be part of and also work on, was a recommendation which I put forward, quite like 3-4 weeks ago, and I was surprised at the start of the first reading in the National Assembly. And it was simply to take state local government elections from state electoral commissions and return them back to INEC. I know a lot of people will say this is not supporting restructuring. I'll tell you that you can't restructure a nation that is not ready for this, that subunits are not ready to not be totalitarian. So as much as we think it is, no local government in Nigeria earns less than 250 million naira a month. And the total money which is given in FAC allocation in a year is approximately 2.23 trillion naira. And this is unaccounted for. This is quite a lot of money. So for me, there's a lot of things going on. As regards to the state of the economy, I'd like to first start on a few things. First and foremost, it is easy to say the problems in Nigeria are the problems in Nigeria. I heard the person speaking before me mention the rice in Kebbi. We should remember that we're a nation of about close to 200 million. Kebbi's rice is not enough to feed Nigeria. There's also a rice mill in Anambra. There's one in Ebonyi, if I'm right. And there's one in, I think, somewhere in Niger, one somewhere else. I think not Kano, Kaduna, it's somewhere else. There's a lot of things that will come into play if we're going to. I'll give an example. Nigeria is a country where we produce for export approximately $1 billion worth of cocoa, but we import derivatives of cocoa to the tune of about $6 billion. Therein lies the problem. First, we don't produce. Secondly, when it comes to things like tomatoes, you notice the price. Tomatoes and yam, in leaving the farm to get into the market, we lose about 45% of our entire production. So the problem here isn't necessarily the production, but generally how to handle the logistics of it. I'll jump to security. Security for me has always been poor in Nigeria. But we must critically note that as much as we talk about closing the borders, we already have invited. So if you start the story from the beginning. The problem of Nigeria's insecurity started with, sub-Saharan Africa and the instability there, Libya, etc. And these guys started coming down. And as it happened, we invited them. I can go back to Borno situation, and then Senator Ali Modu Sharif, then, a prominent person in Borno, then not yet governor, invited, because Chadian terrorists were terrorizing Maiduguri at the time, invited quite a few of these guys to help quell that, and etc. A few of us, and from papers I've seen, even up to Ife Modakeke crisis, we invited a few of them to fight our wars. We brought them to this country. So we cannot clearly state that everybody is negligent of what happened and what didn't happen. Zamfara, of course, and we must very much consider Lake Chad, which is surrounded by 3 French colonized countries. And Lake Chad recently found out to have large deposits of oil and I think uranium. This situation, of course, is going to cause quite a quagmire. I won't talk about foreign involvement here. I'll talk about governance a little bit. Governance in Nigeria has critically been poor, because first thing is that most citizens know how to complain, but they do not engage with you can't engage what you don't understand. So political literacy actually is very low. Most people don't even understand what a councillor is to do, which is basically the National Assembly of local government chairman, of course, which is the executive arm of that. And, they don't even understand jurisdictions. Most of us question senators and constituency projects, which are executive functions, which are not even guaranteed by the Constitution. Hence another anomaly. And which leads us not to even ask them the real questions, which is what kind of bills are they proposing? What laws are they putting forward? What are they amending? These questions are critical, and we've not gone there. Instead, we discuss what roads they are going to put forward or whatever, and etc. I'd like to talk about national unity. First and foremost, the biggest problem is that most of us do not think of ourselves as Nigerian. We think of ourselves as Yoruba first, Igbo first, Tiv first, Jukun, Tarok. The list is endless first. That is the first Nigerian problem. There are very few Nigerians in Nigeria. That's those who embody the word Nigeria and do not look at themselves via tribe. Therein lies the largest problem. Thank you very much, and hope I was able to comprise everything in the show.
Quick question before you go. You mentioned that we don't have the right information about the structure of the governance, and that's part of our challenges. That's why we can't hold some of them accountable. So what are your recommendations for ensuring that citizens are engaged and they have the information to engage, and and the mode of engagement? Can you kind of give a 1-minute spiel about that? And it could be a continuing conversation, but I wanted us to have that take away from some of the things that you have said.
Okay, thank you. One of the first things any citizen has to look at, and which we believe, which of course the Electoral College that I work with believes, is that the holy book of being a citizen is the Nigerian Constitution. You don't need to know all of it. You can look at chapter 4, which has citizen rights. You can just Google parts that have jurisdictions of offices of people in governance, etc. This information is common. Most of our arguments also stem towards elections and etc. I don't think many Nigerians have looked at the amended Electoral Act of 2022. This is critical to also understanding. Then there's a national act for National Identity Act or Citizens Act, which of course allows your jurisdictions as a citizen. Like somewhere in section 2, subsection 24, you might dislike the anthem like I do. I dislike the change, I'll be honest with that. But you have to remember section 2, section 24, subsection 2, which clearly states that you must respect the anthem, the Constitution. So for anybody planning to sit down during the anthem or whatever, you could be held liable for treason. So to engage a government and to hold them accountable, it's easy to, just take your phone, go to Google, senator, legislative in Nigeria, jurisdictions, functions, and you pull out their jurisdictions and functions from the Constitution. And then you can have these conversations. The Electoral Act, if you want to discuss electoral things, most people discuss the anomalies which happened at INEC. Excuse me, but the biggest anomaly that happened was, I think, 9.1 or 9.2 of the Electoral Act, which clearly states that no political party should conduct a convention, primaries, or Congress without submitting a full membership list, national membership list, electronically and physically to INEC. None of the 18 political parties met this parameter. That's 9.1, which clearly states that every political party was the primaries, conventions, and whatever they did was null and void. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to call on a few people, but one of the key takeaway I have from that is there's a lot of work for us to do in this civil society space in terms of educating the citizens, because without us having the right information and taking the right action, then good governance in Nigeria is going to be a great challenge. I have a few names that I'm going to call, but I want to give you notice. These names you were appointed. So I'm going to call on Chief Tolu Ighodalo. I'm going to call on Abiodun Ariyibi. I'm going to call on Mrs. Kofo Koka, Pastor Tayo Fagmero, Austin, Victor, and Owele. But before I call on all the names that I have called, I'm going to call on Auntie Yemisi to please go ahead. Auntie, okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Good to see you guys, Jumoke. Your lovely face always lifts the spirit. And Pastor Ighodalo, what you're doing is so encouraging to all of us. Rather than just preaching, you are encouraging everybody to be participants in the change we want to see. You know, last week, I'm not sure who was speaking, who kind of accused me of wanting the elites to always do more. Well, who else is going to do more? It's you. You are raising your hand. Yeah. Now, what I said and what I meant was that those who are educated are the elites. Those who have a little bit they have the roof over their head, the average capacity to be human, they are the elites. And it's not the resources that we want from them. Those throwing this money around and, helping people. Yeah, I have no objection to people helping others and all of that. But what I think we require more is what Kunle was talking about, that intellectual rigor to understand precisely what we're facing. And to do that, we have to organize better, educate ourselves better on this system that we are operating. I was part of the People's Conference that we had many years ago to propose a new national constitution. So all of us must be able to look at those documents and organize better to engage with those who are now trying to change the constitution. Because we have a faulty constitution where we're not the Nigeria that we want to be. And unless we focus on engaging the process of that reform, the constitutional reform process that's ongoing, we may not get what we want. That's one level. I think we need to do a whole lot better to focus on the state and the local government, organizing in our states and in our local governments to engage the officers at that level. For instance, in Lagos State, there's a 30-year development plan. I don't know how many people have read it. It was unveiled in 2022. In Lagos State, city model plans are being launched. The Lagos Island one has been launched. I have the copy here. How many people are making the effort to get a copy of that plan and begin to engage the state government and the Ministry for Urban Development, because they say they want our participation and collaboration. How many people are organizing to do so and make inputs into those documents? And engagement means, okay, we talk at this kind of forum and we're talking to ourselves mostly. the elites who already kind of have the opportunity to even have internet to talk about such, data to talk about such things. But we have to take the next step to call the representative of the House of Rep, to call the local government chairman. There's a very important person in every local government called the council manager. He is pretty much responsible for running the local government. And we have to get his number, organize visits, write letters to them, whatever he needs to make sure that they focus on the issues that are pertinent, not just for you as a person, but to the community and to the issues of job creation, economic development, blah, 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 blah. So making sure that we engage at a visceral, mano a mano, organized level is absolutely critical. Now, you were talking about the refineries. Whatever the problems of the refineries are, I think labor, who are the workers within the labor movement, I'm not talking of Labour Party, the labor movement, the NLC, TUC, who are the workers in those refineries, have the front seat. They told us they went and did a monitoring exercise a while back. I have not seen the feedback on that. I would like to see labor being more active in not only engaging with citizens, so that it's not just about them and their wages or whatever conditions of service, but issues that, these critical issues, they have to be able to give us information about what is going on. Why is it that the refineries are not working? And that will give citizens the information and the power to be more effective about how we're engaging on those issues. There are currently various bills in front of the National Assembly: constitutional reform, the anti-grazing bill that is going on now, the local government autonomy, and these other issues. And I think the solutions, my recommendation is that as groups, not just ALG as this overarching, we can't put all the work on Pastor and Jumoke to organize all of us. We, using the affiliation we have with ALG, because they give us a lot of information and stuff like that, should within our state, within our local government, anybody in Lagos Island should please talk to me. We have an organized system within local Lagos Island where we engage with all of these officers, and we have them on our WhatsApp group. We call them, we make their lives fairly difficult. And we also make sure that the youths are sufficiently empowered with them, because they are more afraid of the young people after EndSARS in particular than they are about grammar-speaking old people that are elites. So we have to empower these young people with the information, with the support, being able to backstop them so that they can engage with these officers. There's so much corruption that is going on. I don't see anybody who is trying to govern Nigeria being successful, because down the ladder, it's a morass. The monies that were sent for palliatives, I can tell you, were, conscripted along the line. Let me use a kind word. So let's begin to organize at that level in a manner where, as groups, not as individuals that can be easily dismissed, but as groups, so that we can interrogate the local government chairman of, I think, Sherry Kosi. I was at a program where a few of the local governments were put on a platform where they had to deliver. These are the kind of activities I am engaged in, where the local government chairman are brought to a forum where they have to give some kind of a report on their activities, and where the citizens can engage them effectively. Making sure that town hall meetings are a constitutional requirement, I think, is one of the things we should push in this constitutional reform process that's going on. I'll stop there. I hope I'll have the opportunity to come in again if some bright idea comes from other people's conversation. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
I want to follow up on a comment that you made about the Lagos State 30-year development plan and the call for input. So maybe that is something, that is an action that we can take right away to begin to organize that forum of where we can provide input to the this 30-year development plan. We talked about it last week, and I think I had mentioned that what we really need is a plan, and we don't know how long ago that plan was done, and the assumptions that were made in developing that plan. So we would definitely like that be an action item for groups, organizations to come together and organize how we can contribute to that 30-year plan, Lagos State Development 30-year plan.
I will send you the plan immediately.
Okay. And then maybe we'll talk offline, and then that's an action item for us.
Good.
Thank you. So I'm going to, Professor Grange, give me a second. Adebanke had her hand up, and she's one of our real advocates. So permit me to call upon her first, and then we'll call on you. Adebanke, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So I will actually begin my conversation from where I think Mr. Olayinka said that the government, the president should be impeached. I think if we can look at the way the legislators are trying to respond to the president's bill, it means that he has them to himself. Like, it is not the other way around, that they should make law and all. The president is actually in charge. And another thing is, what I see as my own recommendation is accountability. If we have our representatives selected and they know that they will be accountable for whatever thing they do, true accountability, they will do it right. Like what happened in Kaduna, they said the House of Assembly said they demand immediate refund of 36 billion paid for contracts in an illegal way by Nasri El-Rufai, that he should refund it, and they've given him the ultimatum. So they have actually held him accountable for that 36 billion. If that is effective and other politicians are learning from that, they too will be accountable. And he as well mentioned that Dangote refinery, from my own experience, I think it's only Nigerians that are getting paid. They are getting played. We have crude oil in Nigeria, and they are still importing crude oil. And there are some people who know about this thing. Like, there is this radio human rights program, Berekete Family. Their head is Ordinary President. He was having his program one day, and someone calling to raise this issue, like, why would Dangote be importing crude oil and oil? Because so the man replied that nobody should talk about the FG to his own perspective, that nobody should talk about the federal government and Dangote's transaction, because they know what they are doing. They are just fooling us around. So we may not get a good response to that. And as well about local government autonomy, I think it is the best way to reach the grassroots. When they are being given money, like some weeks ago, the Ife Youth Organization went to engage our caretaker chairman, and we told him about what we want in the community, this and that. And he actually told us, he's a PDP man, and the president is APC. He told us that he supports that kind of initiative by the president, that it's going to help them. That the governors are just getting their own allocation. They are still spending their allocation without doing their project for them, and the little they are giving them, they have to share it with this LCDA and all, and it's not making them effective. They're not doing what they're supposed to do and reaching the people that they're supposed to do. So I think that's a good way to go. And as well, another recommendation for me is that this grassroots activism, when ordinary people can take up the spark and just cause spark for change. So when people, not the people that they say they are activists and they are being sponsored by politicians, like Mommy Kuti said that they are afraid of the young people too. So if you have people with the spark that can easily affect the change, not those that will be called to give money, the students that they'll be sponsored by politicians, all these things, the change that we want, we're actually going to get them. And another thing that I see that is actually costing us so much is the bicameralism that we are practicing in Nigeria. There are some repetitions. The chairman, the senator, the House of Rep, there will be chairman in the Senate, chairman in the Rep, getting paid for the same duty, almost the same duties. When they are the chairman of this social committee in the Senate, this social committee in the Reps, and they are going to be having their SLAs, their PA getting paid. And eventually, we are not getting the results that we want. They are just there getting salaries. So that kind of government should be, and if they are going to even practice that, probably if the salary is reduced, we are going to get the effect, and we are going to have those who truly want to serve and not those going there to make us. Thank you, ma.
Thank you very much. To hear you speak like this, Adebanke, gives us hope about Nigeria. Adebanke is a youth corper, and she's from the ALG Youth Real Advocates. That you are informed and that a group of youths are really getting involved in the governance and understanding how it works gives us hope that Nigeria has a future with you guys, and you continue this and continue to mobilize youth to be more informed. As you heard the electoral Kunle Lawal from Electoral Correct speak about information and education. So thank you for being involved. Thank you for what you're doing, and hope that you continue to mobilize youths like yourself to be more informed. I'm going to call on others to speak, but I wanted to read a comment that Oluyinka, please prepare for. And this is from Edith. Impeached after 1 year is this kind of comments and attitude that is holding Nigeria back. So there's a school of thought that why the call for impeachment just after 1 year, seeing that, and this is another comment, that Nigeria, under Buhari's administration, we had 8 years of failed governance. Why impeach a new president after 1 year? So hold that, and I'm going to call on Mommy Grange to please go ahead and ask her question or make her comments. Thank you. Go ahead, ma. I've asked you to unmute. Okay, maybe we'll try Bayo. Please, Bayo, go ahead with your comments. You can unmute.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, okay. Actually, I was going to be called so early. I was just trying to do something else. All right, so thank you so much. I really like the conversation so far. It's been so insightful. The truth is really coming out, and Nigerians are getting to speak a lot, which is very commendable. And I'm just going a different route, slightly different from what everybody else has been saying, and which is the fact that we all need to be sincere. There's a part of our everything that we do that we should ensure that sincerity is in there. I'm saying that sincerity should be a policy, sincerity and truth, in what we do, because you see that sometimes even people who are in charge of affairs of the nation, they do certain things, and they come out, they talk, they vocalize, they protest. But once somebody that's a friend of theirs is in there, they start saying different things from the same mouth. They start saying something else entirely, dancing to a different tune. So, that should not be. We should have a country where, we are standing by the truth, whether rain or sun. whether, morning, afternoon, or evening, people are just aligning to the truth at all times. And the truth is, we have some things that we know that that are problems in this country. For example, talking about education, you see that a lot of things we go to school to learn are not even relevant to the Nigerian system. For example, I don't think that in today's Nigeria, somebody should go to school and study social studies for 4 years. I mean, I'm not trying to say that social studies is bad or anything, but you will see that it's not really, what we need. Such a person will come out from school, and 4 years, 5 years, they are still looking for a job. Somebody should not go to school and study philosophy when they could have easily gone to a vocational school and gain a skill that is relevant to the economy and the system that can develop the nation. So we need to rejig. We really need to rejig. Sincerity also will make us look at it and say, why should the graduates go to school for 4 years and come out and then go and learn fashion designing, or is another skill entirely, for maybe 6 months or a year before they could feed or sustain themselves? So that's another thing we can implement, looking at education and say, okay, for example, we need to, incorporate apprenticeship into our systems of education, make it formal, make it legal, so that companies, for example, here in England, NHS does apprenticeship, for people. They do apprenticeship as a program, and some of the people that have become bosses in the NHS started through apprenticeship, and some of them have gone ahead to become directors. Even now, currently, I've just read, last week, that the railway corporations, pay apprenticeship or apprentices up to 54,000, pounds per annum, which is more than what a graduate would earn from whatever education, whatever skill, whatever qualification they have in school. So, we should just implement some of these policies, which we know, and we know that people are, brilliant enough to run this economy and implement these things. Just that sincerity is lacking. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'm going to call on Professor Grange, and then I'm going to call on some of the other elders that we had on the list. Professor Grange, please go ahead. You're muted. And she's still on. Yes, go ahead, ma.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jumoke. First, let me thank Pastor, my dear Pastor Ighodalo, for making this day happen. I believe that this is the beginning of speaking the truth. I want us to look first at the this old new what do we call it? Our
national anthem.
Yes, that's right. There is a sentence there that says, "Let truth and justice reign." That's why I like that. I like it so much. Truth and justice cannot reign unless we are looking for the truth and justice and holding people accountable. Most times we think about the structure being wrong. To tell you the honest truth, no matter what structure we put in place, if truth and justice are not reigning, it's not going to work. Health and educational inequities are the fallout of lack of truth and justice. And they are human rights issues. Now, how is it that our leaders are not thinking about human rights issues? Health and education, and security, of course, these are human rights issues. We're thinking of productivity. Definitely, we are not producing, etc. There's so much wrong with productivity. But let's look at the other side of the equation. The disbursement, the emoluments. Why is it that there is so much inequity in how we disburse what we have? Of course, we can see that it is those who are disbursing that are taking the lion's share. We have to be able to confront that. If we are not confronting it, then we are just, singing to the gallery. There are those at the helm of affairs who just play the Russian roulette. They go from being governor to senator, back to governor, etc., etc. And on the way, they are collecting so much money that they cannot definitely feel what the common man is feeling. So unless we have leaders who are also able to feel how the common man is feeling, we cannot get the Nigeria that we want.
So, but what are the recommendations, Ma?
Yes,
In
my
terms of-
recommendation is
because-
this.
yeah.
My recommendation is this, that Minister of Finance and the governor, should tell us, should give us, in plain figures, what we are earning and what we are spending, and how we can balance the two. You cannot just be telling us that we are not making enough. And but the spending, I know that the governor of Central Bank is now trying to tell us how much the governors are spending, etc., but it's not far enough. So we need to have that balance sheet. The reason is that unless we have that, we will not recognize the fact that increase in malnutrition, increase in maternal deaths, etc., are the results of the lack of balance in our financial dealings. So thank you. I know that it is very difficult to tackle what the area of expenditure, but we must do it, and we must ask these two people to help us do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe that there are some organizations that publish national budgets and spending. I know Budget is one of them. Center for Fiscal Transparency and Accountability is another. So maybe we as citizens, we probably need to dig more and find out more about what's really going on in the country based on some of the recommendations. Thank you, man. I know health. Maybe we'll talk about health, the recommendations for building a healthier community at some point as well. So I have a few names that we have on our list here. We have Chief Tolu Ighodalo, we have Ibijoke Olagbaju, we have Abiodun Ariyibi, and then we have Victor, and we have Austin. So in the order that I called, Auntie Tolu, please, can you unmute with your comments? Okay, we've asked you to unmute.
I don't have any comments really per se, because there's so much. Well, first of all, in my own view, Nigeria is a country in transit. And even as bad as it might seem now, or as it is now, I actually think we have moved forward a bit. We have improved a bit. If anybody remembers, there was a time we couldn't talk like this. We couldn't debate like this. We couldn't ask questions like this. As bad as the situation might be now, we ask questions, we debate, we talk in the public fora. And sometimes it is heard, sometimes it is listened to, and sometimes it is responded to. So that is some progress. However, we do need a great deal more progress in terms of transparency, in terms of accountability, and in terms of the foundational requirements. Let's talk about, for instance, the issue of this minimum wage. It goes against the grain for me to find that sometime earlier this year, I think it was January, legislators were given a salary increment of 114%. Yet the same government is balking at giving a living wage for salaried workers. It's just not balanced. And we need to continue to complain. We need to continue to upset the apple cart, because at least now we are allowed to have a voice. So we just need to continue to complain. But at the same time, when we are talking about government and government, the people themselves are not as good as they ought to be. Your average workman who comes to work, repair things, maintenance and all that, will cheat you when he wants to buy you materials. He will add money to it. So there is a fundamental misalignment that we need to find a way to look at how to realign. People who benefit from you have a spirit of entitlement. People you assist believe that you owe them. And they all pad. There's hardly anybody that doesn't do budget padding in Nigeria now, from top to bottom, you know. So what I'm saying is that it's not just the government or the leaders, the so-called leaders that are at fault. We need to look at the rot that is in the system from top to bottom. That's, for me, is my own little contribution for now. Thank you.
So part of your recommendation is that reorientation and looking at the rot from the bottom. What would that look like if you were to propose a recommendation that this is the step that we as Nigerians should take?
Well, first of all, when we were growing up, there was a lot of discipline for misbehavior, for bad behavior. That discipline is not there now. People give excuses for bad behavior. So I think that discipline needs to be brought back. If people do the wrong thing, they need to be penalized. They need to be punished, whoever they might be. If somebody steals from you, they need to be taken to court. They need to be prosecuted. So we need to bring back discipline, both in our individual areas and generally speaking. And we need to demand that discipline from our legislators, from our civil servants, from our from our local government chairmen and workers. We shouldn't hesitate to go through the cumbersome and long process of seeking for redress. And we should also individually teach our children and ourselves to be each other's keepers. I was watching a video yesterday or so on WhatsApp where some guy took a video of a woman maltreating a child and reported her, despite the woman saying, "You can't report me, go and report me and let's see what would happen." So those kinds of things we need to do. We need to go back to being our brother's keepers. When we were growing up, if you are punished at home and you run away to the neighbor's house, they will punish you there as well. So you know that there's no point running. Wherever you go, you get punished. These days, children misbehave and we just look at them, we leave them because we're afraid of what their parents are going to say to us. So I think if more people make other people's business their business, the society itself will start to change. That's one thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma. Can I call on Abiodun Ariyibi, please? Miss, I believe is Mr. I'm not sure. Okay, maybe they are not on the platform. We'll call on Victor Ukwat. Victor, are you here? Yes, you are. I'll ask you to unmute. Please go ahead and unmute.
I'm here, Ma. Thank you very much. A bit surprised why I was listed to speak.
You were appointed.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the way you are going about it. This is actually very, very exceptional because, and like one of the speakers said, we just like to talk a lot of the time, but when it comes to offering solutions, then everybody stays back. So this is really, really. And let me just start by thanking Pastor and the platform because my main point, the country is really about getting.
Can you speak up, or is it me? Is his audio funny, or is it me?
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you better now. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So what I was saying is that I wanted to start by thanking Pastor on the platform, because this is exactly what I think is also missing in all this, giving people opportunity to get engaged and understand the things that are going on around them, and also giving them the voice to also say one or two things about the way forward. It is important for us to do this and continue to do this. Number one for me is really about the fact that a lot of us are still in election space, election mode. And I would encourage Nigerians generally as a way of solution now or recommendation to please understand that elections are over and we have a government in place. Whether we like the government or not, the government is there. And if God didn't want the person to be there, there's no way the person would have gotten there. I quite remember in one of the states, about 2 or 3 elections in the past, the person won the election and the result was announced. Just when the result was announced that night, the person died. And so, so the fact that we have a government in place is important for us to move away from the election, accept the fact that there's somebody that is there, and then try and support by way of criticizing positively and offering solutions where necessary. That is very critical for me, because sometimes when you listen to the way we talk, it gives you the impression that, so many people are still bitter. And once that goes on, you are not likely to be in a position to offer opinion that could be seen to be altruistic. It's likely going to come from a position of pain and disappointment. And so it's important. Number 2 for me, again, is that we must all realize that leadership is for everybody. It's not just about the government. It's very, very important. My greatest challenge in our country is that we have the assumption that we're going to get from where we didn't sow. It's not going to happen. The leaders of today, the governors of today, local government chairman of today, the president of today, we're all citizens yesterday. And so the real thing is about us finding a way to get people to imbibe the right values, the right customs, the right way to behave and do things. And that is why I'm really glad with what the platform is doing with young people that are coming. Unfortunately, the people that are ruling us now are set in their ways. It's really going to be difficult to get people to change the way they do. That's the truth. The only way that that can happen is that you have almost something very close to being a dictatorship. That is it. But as long as that is not going to happen in Nigeria, people will struggle. The current leadership would struggle because people are already set in their ways. I mean, for instance, you go on the road, how many people obey traffic lights? How many people? As simple as that. Buses are flying in opposite directions. Even some people that would have expected to be very responsible will just do things that will disappoint you. These are the people that will become local government chairmen tomorrow. These are the people that will become governors. Do you think they're going to change with power? Power corrupt and absolute power corrupt? Absolutely. So when such people get empowered, and don't forget that almost majority of Nigerians are in that space. So when we get empowered, what happens? We are going to see the results. So leadership is really for everybody. As citizens, I like what the last two speakers said. As citizens, we must understand that it's a responsibility of everybody. Why do we cheat? Why do we allow children to cheat in exams? Why? When they get to become governors, they will cheat. It's as simple as that. So what the forum is doing is good, but we must encourage and understand the fact that we need to catch these people young. We need to teach a lot of values. We need to teach a lot of, so that people can get their priorities right. Know what is important, because those are really, really, really the fundamentals that will build the structure of the society that we are looking for tomorrow. But we are trying to solve a problem from the top. Solving the problem from the top will only give us minimal results. Number three, quickly, is that we must really realize the fact that the democracy we have is strange to our culture and the way the Black and African here. I always ask any forum that I find out that I have opportunity to share. I always ask a very simple question. Show me what one single third world country that transitioned to second world or developed economy that had the kind of democracy, this kind of democracy that we are practicing. Show me one. You want to talk about Rwanda? Rwanda, the president is asking for, I think, the third or the fourth term today. Can that happen in Nigeria? It's not going to happen because they have been able to find a way to craft a bit of what suits them. You want to talk of Malaysia? The same family. Singapore, the same family has been from grandchild, from grandfather to son to grandson. All of them, one single family has been ruling. So we need to begin to think of, I think Chief Obasanjo made mention of it about 2-3 months ago. We need to begin to think of the kind of democracy that can fit our environment. Apart from being too expensive, the way we behave, the way we do things, it's really very difficult. Even at the level of office, even at the level of local government, you really will have people, you really will find it difficult to build a consensus around a very common thing. And so,
thank you.
It is important for us to think about that. What will help Nigeria move forward, I've talked about 3 things, is that let's begin to challenge government in a little way to talk more. Government needs to give a lot of information. We're lacking in that space. For some reasons, maybe because of the culture that we have, leaders don't understand that being vulnerable, being open can help us be good leaders. I mean, I've had the opportunity to ask Pastor one day, I said, why are you so open? Why are you so vulnerable? And he laughed and he said, that's just the way he is. But people hold information. When citizens don't have information, then what you are saying is that they can go to town and say whatever they want to say. And that is why you find out that almost 80% of what we find on social media, on platforms, are not completely true. Because people are not getting information, that we are left to see things that are not correct, things that are not true. So people push around all kinds of data. And finally, accountability is important. Even in institution, accountability is important. But how do you have accountability when our institutions are weak? It becomes a bit difficult. And so that is why I like we cannot say that we should impeach the government after one. I think this government has taken real bold steps to address certain things that have been difficult in the past.
Thank you.
For this week, salaries of judges or everybody in the judiciary has been reviewed. Those are the kind of things that we want to see. We need to help make contributions that will help us build very strong institutions that will help us drive some level of accountability. The real reason, part of the why we are suffering, is that people are not for their. When people are held accountable for their actions, things will change. So, in summary, engagement has to be there. Part of what we are doing. Engagement does not come without information. Government needs to give a whole lot of information so that we can engage citizens and then try and see how God will help us to build very good institutions. But please, it's all our collective responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. And so your takeaway, you did mention that there's a lot of misinformation out there, and maybe that's the role of the journalist, the media space, for them to ensure that they are communicating in every in the first worlds. The journalism is a critical component of democracy, of accountability, because they give the right information. So we need to also look at the media space and the misinformation and the compromise, or that they've been compromised, so they don't give balanced information, or they don't even give accurate information. So that's on one sector. And I also want to point out that, I think Auntie Tolu mentioned about the rot in the society and how we need to reform. You also mentioned that. We have a School of Leadership and Governance here at the Africa Leadership Group, and we do offer courses, citizens responsibility course. It's the school is led by Pastor Tayo Fagbero, and I'm sure you guys have heard him speak here a few times. And it's about what we've been talking about. How do we become good leaders? You guys heard Adebanke. She's one of our youths, and we have a few of our youths. They went through the classes, and they've been equipped with the right information to ask questions. So we encourage everyone to sign up for those classes. We can talk again, but we need to be more involved. We need to arm ourselves with the information that we need to be good citizens and to contribute to our national development. I'm going to call on Benjamin Omeze, and then I'm going to hand over to Pastor Sonny. He has a few comments, but he wanted us to take the hands that were up first. So please go ahead, Benjamin, with your question
good evening.
or comment.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just a couple of, just a minute or so. Basically, I just wanted to call our attention to the fact that the local government elections for most states are coming up. So we should actively participate in the local government elections. Let's know who are those people that have been elected. And let's stop this false notion that they believe that local government chairmen are the voice of the governors. It's not true. If you've done well in your community, you'll be able to wield a level of influence for you to mobilize people to vote for the right candidate. So let's please engage in local government elections. Let's finance candidates that are coming up. And basically, that's just it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Pastor Sonny.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jumoke. Yeah, I'm here. It's very interesting listening to everybody's comment, and I think it's quite good that we are looking for solutions, but appraising, like I keep saying, I like to put things in context and in perspective. The duty of every government, according to Section 2 or the Chapter 2 of our Constitution, is the protection of life and property, providing for our welfare, which includes education, right to a decent living, which includes earning a fair or a living wage, is there. So if you are not fulfilling this as a government, it means you are violating the Constitution. And so if somebody says that the government has violated the Constitution, what do you do to people that have violated the Constitution? So that's just on one side. But for me, really, I think I like to look at my life personally, and I want everybody to do that assessment for themselves. Is your life better today than it was 1 year ago? If yours is better, look at people around you. Is every other person necessarily better? All the indicators have gone up. All the indices, everything you want to look at. And we did say that that was because of the pronouncement of Mr. President on day one that subsidy is gone. And now we are being told by the Minister of Finance that they are still paying subsidy. Of course, people knew that we are still paying subsidy because, if subsidy was gone at the time dollar was still 700 and something, and the dollar rose up to about 1.9 before it came down to 1.4, 1.2 and thereabout, and the price of the fuel remained the same. We knew that something was holding it at that place. So one is sincerity of government. Okay, they have to be open. So there are various, and I keep saying there are various policy somersault and flip-flop. I really want this government to succeed, but I have assessed the capacity and the capability of the president. And this is personal, to be honest. He simply does not have the energy and the drive to hold those he has put in position of responsibility, responsible for the things that they are supposed to deliver. We said it before the election, and it's playing out. And why do I say this? We have seen severally when they make a decision, people shout and they come back and say no, they reverse it, they go up, they come down. Now they are shouting CNG, CNG, CNG. There's a new debate appearing now that no, CNG is not the thing. They called another something G. It's not LNG, something LPG. They say LPG is the better alternative. The government should look at that, and government is considering that. I think we need to be able to come up with an elite consensus, and that's what Auntie Yemisi and a few other people have said. What is that elite consensus that we are looking for? All the NGOs, people of goodwill, team up with labor and come up with certain things that we want to be done. And we can occupy a square. See, nobody is going to, democracy is what it is. Look at all the protests happening in the West because of the war going on in Gaza. And the government is being forced to take certain decisions because the people are persistent in what they are doing. So these guys will not yield if we don't organize instead of agonizing. And in organizing, we must be ready for some discomfort. Nothing is going to change. Nothing. If we are not ready to give up some of our comfort, to go out there and inconvenience the people that we have elected to serve us. They will keep making decisions that suit them, taking the money that is meant for everybody and using it for what they want to do. And we are still going to keep talking and talking. So what is my recommendation? Mobilize the youth. Organize with all the other NGOs. Huh?
Go ahead. Sorry, someone interfered. I'll mute them.
Arrange with all the other non-governmental organizations, all the elites that can come together and say, we are going to the National Assembly, we are occupying that place, these are our demands, these are things that must be done. Because the more we shout, the more they renovate the VP's house with 40 billion. The more we shout, the more they buy a yacht. The more we shout, the more they buy vehicles for the First Lady. The more we shout, the more they send prayers from the Senate President to the senators. All these are our money, our common patrimony that they are using for all these things. So we have to be able to rise up and say, no, enough is enough. How much is the worker asking for? They can't afford that. So assessing this government, and looking at the various ministers they've had, I don't even want to go into local government and all of those things. The health minister was somebody that we thought was going to do a lot. Maybe he's still trying to find his feet. I don't know. But doctors are still living quietly. We are still losing people in the health sector. When they shout and cry and nobody is listening to them, they live quietly. Security is still an issue. In Niger State, 2 weeks ago, that thing was underreported. I listened to it. 130-something people were killed, massacred, and kidnapped just 2 weeks ago. Completely underreported in the Nigerian media. I watched it on the foreign news. This Indian lady that does this, that reports on Nigeria, I don't know how many of you see that. And so killings are still going on a daily basis. It's a normal thing. And then we have a president. Everybody says he cares. We should give him time. Look, give nobody time. 1 year, 365 days. You have shown us your hand. We know what you are going to do. There's nothing, nobody should expect anything. This current crop of people, if we don't rise up and organize, Nigerians, and I'm not talking about violence, I'm talking about organizing, insisting that this is what we want. And this is not about politics. I'm not a member of Labour, I'm not a member of PDP, I'm not a member of anything, I'm just a Nigerian that is concerned. So nobody, anytime we say we want to hold our government accountable, people say no, leave politics out, election is over. Election is over. All of us, we are not members of political parties. We only voted. Yes, our candidates may have lost or won, but The reality on ground is what it is. So let's not hide under the guise of these are, bad losers, belly aching. No, the issue is affecting us. In my estate now, we can't use light anymore. Why? Because you'll be spending 50, 70K a week on light. So in a month, you are spending about 200K. Fuel, the same thing. How much are you earning now? You're not talking about food. And all these things happened in the last 1 year. So let nobody tell me that, oh, the economy was messed up. The economy has been messed up from Jonathan's time. But Buhari did not, take all this plunderous decision. However, he did it. Oluyinka talked about Dangote refinery coming up. Okay, fine. Dangote has promised us that by June, Nigeria will not import 1 liter of fuel. We are waiting for that. We are in June. He was saying that, all of you heard him when he was in Rwanda, when he made that speech. But now they say they can't find crude to give him. Why? Because they have done forward sales for all our crude and taking money for it. And so there's no crude to give to Dangote. Guys, there's nowhere to go. We have to rise up and organize ourselves. Stay on the street. How many of you are ready to give up a week of your time just to insist on certain things that we want? Until we are ready to do that, to be honest, these guys will just keep taking us for granted, laughing. And that's where we're going to continue to remain. So my recommendation is everybody must be ready to make a sacrifice. Those of you abroad, if you're ready to come back, we'll stay. And I want to speak to the police and the army. They're especially the ones they are using to come and chase people. Anytime we say we want to organize and insist on our rights, they send the army and the police out to go and chase people out. You suffer more than us. I mean, you don't buy from any different markets. You have relations, you have brothers, you have sisters, you have children, you have parents that are in this same quagmire. So long as we are not destructive, so long as we are not, breaking anybody's right, I speak to the army and the police. You should be on the side of the people and not on the side of the oppressors. They can give you an order, you can carry it out very well. So don't be so eager to shoot like you did during the EndSARS process, during the EndSARS protest. So we must speak to these people. I think we should create another kind of, education for our security agencies. Let them know their real responsibility. It's not to kill us. It's not to oppress us. No. We are fighting for everybody. If it's good for us, it's good for you. You are not a member. You are not a part of this class that we are talking about. So we must speak to them. So your general can give you an order and you go there. I mean, let me let other people contribute. It's Pastor there. Thank you very much. Nigeria is, that's where we are. But those of you expecting anything from Tinubu and his government, to be honest, this is how we're just going to keep on going round. Keep on going round. Because they don't have a tactical team that is planning anything for them. And if they want to succeed, my first recommendation to them is get a group of young people. Get Jumoke, get Ngozi, get Oluyinka, just get a few people. Not the old establishment. Anytime they say they want to form an economic committee, they put Dangote, they put Otedola, they put all these people that don't have time. They will just go there and protect their own interest. Get a crop of young analysts. So any policy that you want to implement, put them in a room. Let them tear it apart. Come up with all the scenarios. And then they bring it to you, Mr. President. These are, even if your ministers bring ideas to you, send to these young guys, let them tear it down. And then you are able to analyze it and say, okay, these are all the options, implications of taking X. If I do B, this is what will happen and all of that. Other than that, we are not going to get anywhere with this government. We just keep agonizing, crying, and they'll keep doing what they are doing. I'd like to hear what other people think. Ngozi and Auntie Emisi Christie are up hands and
Should I
Ngozi, go
speak?
ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for your contribution. I know here in the United States, when people are seeking for change, there are pressure groups that make representations to the legislative committees, and they make their presentations and they stay on it and put pressure and keep putting pressure until that change occurs. It might take time, but it will eventually happen. I'm just wondering if that access exists with the legislators in Nigeria, like ALG and some NGOs forming a pressure group that seeks audience with the legislature and the subcommittees and makes representation, and then just stays on those representations and continue to put pressure until the desired outcome is achieved. Is that something that is possible in Nigeria?
I mean, it's possible. The issue is, if you have seen Nigerian system, by the time a pressure group comes up, they will not sponsor a counter group to say, no, we like the way it is. And then they will now say, oh, there's going to be breakdown of law and order. Police will come and disperse it. Of course, it's possible. We run a legislative government where we can make representation to our people, go there, insist on what we want. They will say they hear us, but at the end of the day, if they don't do it, what do we do? Everybody goes back to their business. People are not ready to stay the long
that's
haul.
why I'm talking. That's why I said staying on it.
Yeah, staying on
that
it
pressure
is a
group will
problem.
continue to put pressure until a change occurs.
Okay, we hear you. That's what we are trying to organize. That's what I'm talking about, organizing. And we're trying to put that group together. ALG is ready to be part of it, but we must work with all other like-minded people. And then the Nigerian Labour Congress is a very critical part of that. So they shouldn't be fighting for salary alone. There are so many other things that when taken care of, even if you pay them 30K, it won't matter because the 30K will be worth their while. They'll be able to use it very well. So, Ngozi, we hear you, and I think that's what we are saying. We are saying the same, really.
Okay.
We need to get a pressure group and stay on the issue and don't let it die, so that we can get what we want done.
Yeah, why I was, saying meeting with the committees, because if you can organize a pressure group and you have a sit out at the legislative house or wherever, and then they just disappear, go to their hometowns and watch from the TV what's going on. But if we seek an audience with them and make those representations, we know that we're talking directly to them and not them watching on the news what's going on.
Okay. Excellent. Good suggestion. So that's one thing that we'll look. So pressure group, meet with the various committees that we want, make representation to them, and let's see whether they will take on board those things to the floor of the House. Excellent idea. I think we should note that, Faye, note that, and something we can arrange. Osime,
Thank you.
Adeswa.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Yes.
I quite support this idea of having a pressure group. But my worry is, do we have the staying power? We are too selfish and we're too indisciplined, if I can use such a word. Do apologies to everybody, and I'm including myself too. Where some of us are comfortable and we want to stay in that comfort zone. And then we have this question of pressure from families, oh, don't go there, you're the only one. This one will say, remember, you have a mother, you have children, you have this, or you have an only child or something. I want to give an example of some years ago in Lagos. I lived in a close inside a crescent off Adelabu. We had NEPA quarters at the beginning of the close, and they always had lights. They always had lights, and the women there, the wives, always made ice blocks. They had 3-4 freezers each. And people were buying ice block because there was no light. We needed ice block to chill drinks or to keep your freezers running. So one day I said, look, why don't we do something, a protest or whatever? And what was it? We blocked the gate of the NEPA quarters. First of all, NEPA quarters was having light all the time because the chairman then
laid underground cables. So when there's a problem, there's storm or whatever rain, they're never affected. They always have light. They have underground cables. So you don't have the wind blowing their light and the poles or the wires. So we laid siege. We said only a pregnant woman or somebody very sick will be allowed to go out. And they were laughing at us inside. When I said, no, this is not going to work. We had to get placards. We got placards. We wrote what we wanted to write. And then there was no phones. I went to my landlords. I used his landline, called the media houses, and they came. Channels, I think Channels carried it, if I remember right. Channel carried it, Vanguard, the newspapers and others, But what am I trying to say? After that, somebody heard in a restaurant that, oh, those people, they think they can suppress us or do something. They were talking, they said, they will see what will happen to them. For 3 months, they took away our transformer. We suffered for 3 months for that. But guess what? They brought back we had 2 transformers after that. Our light was now stable. What used to happen is once it is 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, people come from work, the lights strip off. Everybody's changing from one phase to another, So what I'm trying to say is that you need people who are determined, who were united. It was a small close, but we were united and we had people who were sincere. They had a sincere purpose. We must have a like mind. Not that today this one says, my child is sick, I have to go and tend to my child, or my mother is this, whatever. You have to pay the sacrifice. There's a sacrifice. We have to be ready to pay the price. We are not ready, I'm sorry to say. We are not. Unless we are pushed to that edge where it's like, this thing is affecting us. So everybody's managing as best as they can, either begging or cutting down or whatever reason we're doing. We haven't gotten to that stage, I'm sorry. Our mindset have not reached that stage. And we're not ready to make sacrifice. We don't have the love of our country because we feel, what has the country done for us? But we don't know that we are suffering it in the long run. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent.
Thank you. I think, Jumoke, I can speak now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I just have 2 recommendations.
Right.
The president set up a system with Bala Usman in charge to measure the KPIs of the ministers.
Yeah.
I think we should write to her. I have spoken with her. She says she's willing to have stakeholder engagement with groups, civil society, to evaluate and monitor the process. So I think we should write to her because that KPI, the results of that KPI should be public so that we know what tasks have been given to the ministers, because we cannot condemn them if we don't know what the timelines, etc., of the actual tasks they have been given. Because you were talking about the Minister of Health. He's a great man. I know him very well. The reason he may not be delivering, we need to know whether the policies that he needs to put in place is what is happening now and what's going to happen in the medium and long term. So that's one thing. Regarding this coming together of labor and civil society, that is what worked when we were trying to get rid of the military. We had something called JAC, the Joint Action Committee, which had labor and major civil society groups. Labor was critical to us getting the military out. I don't know how many of you remember the role of this labor leader that died now. Has died now. Kokori. Yes, thank you very much. And the fact that we had that commitment because if you go and the little small groups that are not properly organized, with the commitment of the leadership of the labor union to take it to the logical conclusion, it might fail. I suggest that it's a great idea, Pastor Enebi, Sonny, you have touched a very important element of how we can organize, particularly at the national level. I'm still saying that a lot of action, particularly relevant to what the speaker before me said, local action should be going on in terms of tackling the community and local level disruptions. Let's continue to do that where we can, where it's possible, where we can get the commitment, blah, blah, blah. But at the national level, without labor, it cannot happen. And I'm suggesting that if in order to do that, we have to approach Mr. Femi Falana, because he is a kingpin in the human rights community and the relationship with labor. So if we contact him and have a discussion with him about the doability and the possibility of such a group coming together, and then we do the planning first in terms of who is involved, what is the strategic plan, and a long term, it has to be something that is properly articulated.
Yeah.
Because without structured engagement, labor is the only organization that has national structure out of government, as opposed to government. So it has to be structured in such a way that when action is required, it can permeate right down to the local level, where every group within the state, within the local government, will be keyed in. And let me warn you, the challenge we had when we were organizing, if you all remember the sit-at-home system that we launched at that, I was part of it. So I'm just giving you some ideas about, other people can have other ideas. Let me just tell you what happened then. The challenge we had was that we could only have the stay at home between Friday and Monday, because by Monday, people who were, doing their trading and earning on a daily basis were already complaining that, we can't go on. So we have to be able to recognize that is a challenge that we must take into consideration in our plans. So talking to Femi Falana and making sure we have enough stakeholders who have the clout, who have the following, and who have the commitment to hold government accountable. And I'm very happy, Pastor Sonny, you have nailed it by saying that we're not going to war. We should not, because then everything goes scatter. We're not organizing ourselves to go to war with government. We are organizing ourselves to create an alternative, united voice, as they have in the US with is it NACP or some other groups who have that permanent a role of being able to articulate, because the political parties are obviously not doing the work that they should do. If we had strong political parties, the PDP, the Labour Party, who were properly organized, they could hold the government to check. But they are also enjoying, it seems that the ones that are in power now are also part of the problem. They're also enjoying the SUVs and whatnot. So we must have a civil society group that is made up of other stakeholders who are thought leaders, who have the clout to be able to say, look, these are alternatives. These are the other things you can do. Before we go to the level of, if you don't do it, this is what will happen. Let us have a group that is able to profile alternative solutions that the government can take and find as credible agendas for them to pursue, seeing it as a group that is trying to make government work, not as a group that's trying to bring government down. Just my added comments. Thank you so much for your
Thank you very much.
Your summation, Pastor Sonny. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jumoke, I think we didn't call Pastor Tayo Fagbinro the other
No,
time.
he's not available. But
okay.
I just wanted to follow up on what Auntie Yemisi has said. Maybe we can have a follow-up meeting with her to see what that would look like in terms of calling for this stakeholders engagement. I know we've mentioned it before, but maybe it's time for us to actually follow up with it. So Auntie, I'll call you for your availability to have a meeting with Mr. President, Pastor Sonny, and then a few other civil society organizations that we can start off with to start having this conversation because the time is now.
Yeah, and just to mention that since she has a link to Hadiza Bala Usman, we would like to have her on this platform. I don't know if you can help us make the connection. Let's invite her even to come and speak.
Sure.
Yeah,
I will send
excellent.
Jumoke her number, yes.
Okay,
and,
ma.
we can engage with her.
Yeah, and we'll probably be having Femi Falana next week, so we'll be able to engage with him on a couple of these things as well. But Hadiza, obviously, we would like to have a government person to tell us from the government point of view what they're actually doing and why is it that we are not seeing the result that they promised us. All right, Auntie Kofo, okay. Jumoke, unmute her.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank all the organizers of this platform. I have learned so much in the past 2 years or more that I've been participating. My suggestions are more focused on the people. A lot of people have spoken on the responsibilities of the government. The first one is about human rights, and Professor Grange spoke about that. But apart from the human rights abuses on the part of government agencies or law enforcement, we, the people, also have a lot of violence against each other. For example, jungle justice has been going on, in my recollection, for at least about 40 years, where someone is accused of stealing and they're beaten up, tires are set upon them, and they're set on fire. That's still a human rights issue that has to do with we, the people. And I believe in some of those communities, there are elders or people who can convince the people who beat and set people on fire just because they are accused of stealing to change these habits. So that's one. The second one is also about people, our mindset. Chief Ighodalo spoke about cheating monetarily. There's also other kinds of cheating that we engage in. I remember as far back as about 30 years ago that some parents paid JAMB officials to cheat for their children, and JAMB results were canceled. Those are other things that we need to speak to ourselves and speak to people we know to stop those practices. There's also a lot of cheating in academics. Sometimes it's so difficult to get your transcript from universities because of Oluwole certificate phenomenon. People's certificates have been stolen from universities and given to other people. So when the rightful student is trying to get the transcript, those transcripts has disappeared from the records office because it's been given to someone else. That's another form of cheating that we really need to address and change. The third one, the other one is also the fact that there are enough of us that are disloyal to ourselves and to Nigeria in the way we spend our money. I think it's probably from drinking the Kool-Aid of Western supremacy. We rather spend our money on things that are produced outside of Nigeria. I remember one of the speakers, I think last year, gave us some statistics about importation of goods, especially in southern Nigeria. And we need to be more aware that when we spend our money buying things that are made outside of Nigeria, we're being disloyal to our economy and to ourselves. The last one is about citizen responsibility. I remember when I was in high school in the 1970s, the alumni of my school will organize a mentoring program or career day every year to talk to the students. I think we need to serve more. I know probably a lot of people serve in churches, but we need to serve in other areas. If there's a school, elementary school, high school, near where you live and you have time to help the teachers, help the principals, we can do those things. We can serve in alumni. I know sometimes people shy away from their high school alumni or university alumni because of money, but it's not just money. We can serve more by being the secretary, by doing other things that do not involve money.
Yeah.
Also, taxes. I don't
Okay,
know
ma.
the number of people that pay taxes.
Yeah, well, we'll try.
So
to close,
those are things also that we need to encourage more people to do. That's part of our responsibility to pay taxes.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you very, very much. We'll pay tax. They are still working on their tax reform, so we'll know how much is the real tax. But Nigerians pay taxes, so only that maybe the wrong people collect the taxes and it never really gets to central purse or is shared along the line. Jumoke, over to you. Thank you.
I think that's it. Thank you so much. Just a few people asked how they can get involved with ALG. There's a link in the chat room. I responded to you. Please go ahead and fill that. We meet here every Thursday, same time, same Zoom link. And so we encourage you to save that on your phone, pin it, and then you just click onto it. And Auntie Kofo will probably follow up with you for this framework of community engagement so that we can use that as part of our civic education classes as well. So once people have how they can get involved, they can start mobilizing. So we'll call on you to give us an outline for that. Thank you so very much. Over to you, Mr. President. Have a good evening, everyone, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Jumoke.
Thank you, Auntie. I'll follow up with you on your availability so we can set up that meeting. And then I'll be waiting for Hadiza's phone number as well. Thank you, ma'am.
I've just sent it to you.
It just came in. Thank you. Okay.
Superstar coordinator. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, Auntie. You inspire me. You're making my head swell.
Please, it has not swelled enough. I'm still pumping.
Pastor, are you there?
Mr. President, he should unmute.
He's gone.
I think he's on the road, so his network may have gone. Okay, he's back in now. Yeah, he's back in.
Okay.
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 I want to thank everyone, as always, for this very, very robust decision. By the way, Sonia, I like your t-shirts.
It's summer out here, so it's thank you.
It's already summer.
Yes, it's summer.
All right. So I want to thank everyone for the robust decisions and the love for Nigeria. The love for Nigeria is so evident, it's so palpable, it's so desirable. It's almost as though we should carry Nigeria and swing it around and change it like plasticine and make it a beautiful place. And God will hear our cries and answer our prayers in Jesus' name. I know that some government people are probably on the platform and they've listened to a lot of what we have said. And they've taken those comments on. We really want to see what we can do to make Nigeria a great place, and so on and so forth. We want government to move, we want government to act, we want government to make this place a better place for all of us in the name of Jesus. So we'd also like to take on some government people so that they can also come and comment. Maybe there are things they know that we don't, maybe there are ways by which we can there are things they're doing that we need to note, and maybe we all are waiting for the outcomes. But whatever it is, we just want to ensure that Nigeria makes progress and we have a balanced point of view and know what everybody is doing. So all I need to do is to thank everyone very much. Those in the back office working very hard, working tirelessly, working with all that they have to make this thing work. We had very, very good outcomes in our outreach the other day, where we farm outreach, where we wanted to feed families. We had good engagement with both Christian and Muslim communities. We're making progress. We're finalizing on the structure of the organization and those who are going to be working with us. And we are definitely honing out what our action points are. And by God's grace, whatever little that we're able to do on this platform with the ALG in Nigeria and hopefully all over Africa will be one of the things that will help to bring real transformation to this continent. So let me thank everyone again. Wish everyone a very, very wonderful rest of the evening and a beautiful weekend ahead. Please continue to pray for my brother Aswe as he continues to shrug along to see how he can make a difference in Edo State. Maybe that might be the beginning of certain areas of change also. Thank you. God bless you all. We look forward to next week, where hopefully Mr. Femi Falana will be here to also give us his own idea on the state of the nation. God bless you all. Forever teaching.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor.
God bless you all. God have a good evening. God bless Nigeria.
For being a doing preacher, not a preaching preacher alone. We thank you so much.
Very much. God give us to continue to do.
And Pastor Sonny Jumoke, you are wonderful. We love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's Auntie. Thank
And
you so
all our members. I wonder if we can have a WhatsApp group so that
we
all
do,
the
Auntie.
members
I'll
can
add you to it.
I'll
add you to our WhatsApp
conversation
group.
after, so that
I'll
we
add you
can
to our
follow
WhatsApp
up on our recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma.
Okay.
God bless you, everybody. Have a wonderful week. See you all next week.
Yes. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria indeed. It shall be good. It shall be great. It's
Nigeria
better
shall
than
be
it
great
used to
again.
be. It should. It's those of us who are old remember the hardship. You know, the Esenko period. It was much harder. But I know every generation sees its own period as being the harshest. But it will get better. I promise you. God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. At least you are still waxing. You still believe. I like that. One of my mentors, Dr. Omolayele, he used to always encourage us, Dr. Michael Omolayele, very positive man, very, forward thinking. But at one of our last meeting, he was so disappointed in the crop of leaders that we had these days that he saw nothing good, that if these current people continue, all the work they did in their time, he said these guys are eroding it. That was the first time I saw him lament about Nigeria. He was really regretting the kind of leaders we have today. And it will be
better.
Yeah, we believe so. We believe so. That's why we are doing all these things we are doing. If we don't believe,